In this video, we're looking at how we can solve equations, but they're a bit harder than they were in the last one. So we're using the same process as we did before. We're going to be using the opposite operation to get rid of the numbers furthest from our x, and ultimately be trying to get something where we have our pronumeral on the left-hand side by itself equaling something, a number on the right-hand side. But with these questions, we might be starting with the x on both sides. And we want to make sure that we're getting the x onto just one side, and there's no x here. There's no x on this side here. And finally, a tip. Remove the things furthest from the x first, which we were doing before. Remember, if this was our x, the -2 is further than the 3 is, using our order of operations, or BIDMAS. So you should be able to do this one already. We're going to start by removing this +4. So we subtract 4 from both sides. We get 3x equals 9. We want to get rid of this 3, so we're going to divide both sides by 3. We're going to have x equals 3. Now we can check. So we're going to go left-hand side is 3 lots of 3 plus 4, which is 9 plus 4, which is 13, which is the right-hand side. So we know then that it's correct. Now this question is a bit more difficult, and you can see that we have x's on both sides. But we can treat the x like we would any other number. So let's say we had a 2 here. We could take the x to the other side by subtracting 2 from both sides. So in the same way, we can take the x to the other side by subtracting x. So if we take our numbers, our first step, we want to take the x onto this side. So we're going to go subtract x from both sides. So we're going to get 2x plus 4 equals -8. Now you can see this is just like any other equation you would have seen before. So we subtract 4 from both sides. We get 2x equals -12. And then we divide both sides by 2. So we're going to get x equals -6. So that's our answer. And now we check, and the check is a bit different. We still start off with left-hand side equals 3x plus 4, substituting in our value of -6. So we're going to get -18 plus 4, which is -14. This is where it becomes different because -14 doesn't equal the right-hand side. We need to write right-hand side equals, and now substitute in our values. -6 minus 8, which is going to be -14. And then we can write, therefore, the left-hand side equals the right-hand side. So that's the proper way to do our check now that we have x on both sides of the equation. So this question is a bit easier because we only have x on one side of the equation, but you'll notice that that's a bit more difficult than we've seen anything before. What we're going to do though is we're going to start with the furthest thing from x, which is the +5. So we start off by subtracting 5 from both sides, which gives us 2x over 3 equals 5. Now the next furthest thing from the x is the 3, because the whole numerator, so the 2 and the x, are being divided by the 3. So we have to multiply both sides by the 3. This gives us 2x equals 5. And now finally we want the x by itself, so we're going to divide both sides by 2, which gives us, here when we multiplied by 3, we need it to become 15, and here it becomes 15 over 2. We're going to check, and the check is good because you could make silly mistakes like I did here and not notice them. But when you do the check, you'll see that you do need to go over and change it. So the check is the same as it was the easier version. So the left-hand side is going to be 2 lots of 15 over 2. It's a bit of a complicated one. Over 3 plus 5. It becomes simpler because we get 15 over 3 plus 5, which is going to give us 5 plus 5, which is 10, which is the right-hand side. So that's correct, and we know we've worked that one out properly. Now this question is a bit different to the previous ones that we've done, because now we have the 3 which is multiplied outside of the brackets. So this time the +4 isn't the furthest thing from the x, the 3 is, because the times 3 is happening to this entire expression. So the x plus 4 is all being multiplied by 3. So we start by, instead of multiplying by 3, dividing both sides by 3. we get x plus 4 equals 13 over 3. Now we subtract 4 from both sides, which gives us x equals 13 over 3 minus 4. Now we can simplify this by putting them both as fractions over 3. So we get 12 over 3. And that's going to give us 1 over 3. Now that's a solution, but we can check it. Our left-hand side is going to be 3 lots of a third plus 4, which is going to be 3, and now it's 1 over 3 plus 12 over 3, which is 3 lots of 13 over 3, which is going to be 13, which is the right-hand side. That's correct. Okay, this is your turn. Have a go at solving this equation. Okay, so we're going to start by removing this minus 3, adding 3 to both sides. We get 2x equals 11. Now we want the x by itself, so we're going to divide both sides by 2, which is going to give us 11 over 2. We can substitute back in, but I'm going to leave it there. Have a go solving this one. Okay, so we want the x on this side moved to the left-hand side, so we're going to subtract x from both sides. So if we subtract x from both sides, we're going to get minus 3x plus 1 equals minus 7. Now we want to remove the plus 1, so we subtract 1 from both sides, giving us minus 3x equals minus 8. And then we can get the x by itself by multiplying both sides by minus 3, which gives us x equals minus times minus, or negative times negative is positive, and 3 times 8 is going to be 24. So that's our solution there. Have a go solving this one. Okay, so the first thing from our x is the plus 5, so we're going to subtract 5 from both sides. We get 5x over 2 equals 5 minus 5, which is 0. And now we multiply both sides by 2, which is going to be 5x. 0 times 2 is 0. And then our x, we're going to divide by 5 on both sides, which is going to give us x equals 0, because 0 divided by 5 is 0. So that one's an interesting one. It gives us x equals 0. Now, you should be checking these as you go, but just to save some time, I'm not going to. Finally, have a go at this one. Okay, so we're going to start with getting rid of the 2. Divide both sides by 2. We get 3 minus x equals 7 divided by 2, or 7 over 2. Then we can remove this 3, so we add 3 to subtract 3 from both sides. Gives us minus x equals 7 over 2 minus 3. We can simplify this by making it 7 over 2 minus 6 over 2, which is going to give us a half. And then we can multiply both sides by minus 1 to make the x positive. So we're going to get minus a half. Again, you can check that one on your own. If you have any questions, please bring them to me. Otherwise, continue through the coursework.